It is as if Mother Nature herself has opened her arms to all of mankind and given each and every one of us a very special gift. An enduring gift from her very essence, straight from the heart of her. It is a gift that is millions of years old and has the uncanny ability to do wonderfully incredible things to and for all of us who, by comparison, happen to spend a very short lifetime on this planet. Our story is as old as the earth itself. Tonight, you will be told the story of stone. Stone that protects. Stone that inspires prayer, as well as uncommon levels of artistic genius. Stone that memorializes the unique history of civilizations past, capturing it for those of us who dwell here today in the present. There is a great deal of information to explore about the nature of stone and the ongoing, ever-present role it has played in our lives for thousands of years. Here tonight to guide us on our fascinating journey through time is Giancarlo Calicchia. Italian-born, educated in Europe and the United States, Giancarlo is a renowned sculptor, architectural stone designer, and author whose work in stone and writings on the subject can be found around the world. Giancarlo knows all too well the fragile and personal relationship that exists between stone and sculptor. It is a labor of love that ultimately yields an artistic treasure born from the very core of the earth. Come with Giancarlo now to the legendary quarries of Carrara, Italy, where centuries ago the story of stone began and continues to this very day.
What I've done here with this stone so far is using the first of the great carving tools, which is the pointing tool. And what the pointing tool does is it roughs up the stone. I use a wooden mallet as much as I can on softer stones because it gives a softer, smoother blow. We will also 20th century air hammers, same chisel. Once the pointing is completed, you go to a second group of chisels, which are called the tooth chisels. And they help the contour process, which is where I'm at right now with this piece. I need to look at stone for a long time. Some of these pieces of stone here, including the block of white marble that we split, ends up sitting around sometimes for 3 or 4 years. And I look at it very often, sometimes every day if I'm in the studio, because it's a way of getting to know it. So I have a basic shape and form that I want. I have a drawing here of an idea that I'm working with. I usually don't like, especially when it comes to alabaster, at this early stage, begin to really describe my thoughts about it, because I have a feeling that almost it may jinx me. I want to be able to keep communicating with the stone so that we develop a mutual relationship as we progress. I have shaped it already to the format that I'm looking for, a very sensuous female figure. My method of carving is direct in the sense that I will do some sketches and some drawings, of course, and there's always a reference element, but they're mostly thoughts and feelings regarding that particular piece of stone. They're not really battle plans, because I never really plan to attack a piece of stone. My plan really is to understand it, to comprehend it, to find out where it's been, where it's from. I mean, these pieces of stone are millions of years old. Years and years of formation and character have gone into them. So I really need to find out what it's all about.
Sculptor, artist, or designer, for all who leave their fingerprints in stone, the process starts the same way. With little more than raw material, a clean vision, and human inspiration, a work of art is created.
The two pieces that I picked for this particular show, which are my favorite pieces, are Michelangelo's Moses and Giovanni Lorenzo Bernini's Ecstasy of Santa Teresa in Santa Maria della Vittoria in Rome. I picked these two pieces for very specific reasons. I think we're all familiar, and we'd said so much about Michelangelo's David. And we also are very familiar with the Pietà in St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome. Very few people know about the Moses, however, and to me it's a very powerful personal figure, and it's symbolic, I think, with a sense of peace and tranquility that Michelangelo finally found with himself as an artist and as a sculptor. The Moses took him over 20 years to complete, so it reflects an entire generation of the development of his work. And I think as a master, after having proved himself with the David and the Pietà, he finally found personal happiness and personal tranquility in this powerful traditional figure of Moses. And Bernini, on the other hand, I've always seen not really as a great sculptor in the sense of Michelangelo, but as a great impresario, perhaps the first and greatest impresario the world has known. Bernini created vast works of entertaining sculpture, such as the Fountain of Trevi and the fountains in Piazza Navona. But in the Ecstasy of Santa Teresa, he actually realized himself as a sculptor. Now, Bernini was born and worked after Michelangelo had already died. And to have worked in this period, after the death of Michelangelo, was not a pleasant thing, because Michelangelo had loomed so great, so powerful in the arts of Renaissance Italy, that it was very, very difficult to do anything that was that would resemble Michelangelo's work. And the idea of working with stone, after Michelangelo had realized these great masterpieces, was an act of courage in itself. But in the Ecstasy of Santa Teresa, I think Bernini came to look at stone and understand it in some ways far more and better than Michelangelo himself.
The statue of Moses, found in the Chiesa del Gesù in Rome, portrays Moses as wise and secure.
This sculpture by Michelangelo has always intrigued me from the perspective and point of view that both Moses and Michelangelo have been known to be, in history, as very fiery, active characters. We know he was a great artist. We've read about it in every book. And I've always asked myself, perhaps because I'm a sculptor myself, as to why. I've carved stone for many, many years, and I know how difficult it is to do, to work it, to understand it, to comprehend it. Here, in the lower portion of this wonderful sculpture, we see all these deep cuts, these wonderful, deep carvings, undercuts, which are very, very difficult to make. It's also sometimes impossible to do without making tools of your own. You have to go to a blacksmith, as I'm sure he did, to make special tools to be able to go behind, in the case of the leg, where you have undercuts, where you can't even see them. This work here is not a year or 2 years worth of work. It's a lifetime's worth of work.
The magnificent statue dates back to a time when Michelangelo had already established his reputation, when he supposedly was an artist more at ease. But a telltale chink in the knee of the magnificent statue leaves an historic fingerprint, one that would dispel any claims of Michelangelo's serenity. After almost 20 years of work on the sculpture of Moses, it became a part of him, so real, so lifelike, that Michelangelo, in total frustration, struck the statue at the knee with one of his tools, crying out, "Speak to me! Why won't you speak to me?"